Hi everyone, welcome to Thursday, and like we do every Thursday, we do a share and review. Today I've had a request from a viewer to do a share that's based in the US and it's called Renergen. So we'll take a look at that. Now, just before I jump across and share my screen, do remember that this is for educational purposes only. This is the methodology that I use when I'm looking to evaluate shares, certainly not intended to be personalised financial advice or anything like that. If you're looking for that, you do need to go and have a chat to your own financial advisor. But before I also jump across and share my screen, if there is a share that you would like me to review, or if you've got any questions whatsoever regarding share trading, share investing, money matters, anything like that, do reach out to me, because obviously I do like to make content that is going to be relevant and relative to what you're wanting to learn. So anyway, we'll take a look. Up here on the screen, I've got the company Renergen, and it's got the ticker code RGNF up here on the screen. Now, I have no idea what this company does. I just purely look at the charts to see what they're telling me. Now, I've got this on the 5-year chart, and at the moment, so it's bringing up weekly candles. To me, this share is in an absolute downtrend. You can see that in the last 5 years, it had a high here of around sort of end of March 2022, and it's just been going sideways. Every now and again you get a little bit of a bounce, but then it drops down again. To me, it doesn't look like there's a lot of volume. When I hold over one of these candles, there's only sort of 5.2 thousand shares traded. And if I move on a bit, 292,000 shares. So it's not a high volume share. So that is something that you do need to take into consideration. If I zoom in, you can see here, which was the sort of beginning of January this year, you can see there's quite a spike in the volume, which is a good indicator. And there was a great green candle there, which means obviously the share closed higher than where it opened on that particular day. However, since then, we have had 4 down days in a row, which to me is not really a good sign for a particular share like that. Let's just pop it on all and see how it's been going. Looks like it probably opened or started trading back in October 2021, somewhere like that. And it started off really good. And it hit a high around March 2022 of about $3 a share, according to this. But then since then, we've pretty much been in a downward trajectory. Let's go back to that 5-year chart. I'm just going to put my moving averages on and see what they say. So if you follow me, I use the 30-period exponential moving average. Now, there's nothing fancy with these numbers. They are just what I consistently use. And you may want to use different moving averages, and that is perfectly fine. Just make sure that you've been consistent with them, whatever moving averages and that you want to use. I know people that use the 50 and 100 day, for example. There are other people that like to use perhaps 3 different combinations. Whatever you use, that's fine. Just keep it consistent, and then you will be looking at all charts on the same basis, if you like. So I've popped on here the 15-week and the 30-week. Now, the 30-week moving average is my red line, and the blue line is the 15-week moving average. Now, what you can see here is the share, if I zoom in, is trading below both of those moving averages. Now, for me, that is a negative sign straight away. I want to see a share trading above, like it did through this period here, which was around May last year through to obviously October last year. That's when it then really started to fall. The other thing that I really take note of as well is you can see this blue line, being the 15-week moving average, has crossed through the red line, which is our 30-week moving average. That's what we refer to in investing terms as a dead cross. So if a share is trading below both of those and those moving averages have crossed through, so the faster period has crossed through that slower period moving average, does mean that that share is in a downtrend. Now, that's not to say that a share can't turn around, and they can, and there are a lot of shares that do. However, just bear in mind that shares can go to zero. I certainly learnt that the hard way when I first started my share trading experience. Only happened on one occasion, but it still happened. So that's something to bear in mind as well. This is only trading at about 56 cents per share. And I hear a lot of people saying, oh, that could be good value for money because obviously if it suddenly goes up to $1, I've pretty much doubled my investment. Yes, you can. However, there's a term there for anything that's trading in the cents like this one. They're called penny stocks, or penny dreadfuls is another term, because quite often that's where they're going, as they're heading down. Who knows? It could be a share that recovers. I don't know. But because it's only trading at a few cents, I leave it. Personally, if I'm looking at anything on the US market, I don't want to buy anything on the US market that's trading under $20 for me. That's just one of my own rules, but you have to set your own. Reason for that is because I pretty much do options trading, and I want to make sure the share has got a fair amount of room to move on the US market. So that's something that you need to think about, is the share price and obviously how it's performing. If I look over here, you can see that it says OTC market. So that means over-the-counter market, which means that it's not trading on a regular stock exchange. You have to buy or sell this share through a specific broker that does offer it. So it means that it's not trading on like the NASDAQ or the S&P 500 or anything like that. So we can't really do a comparison there to see how it's performing. Let's jump over to the 1 year chart and just take a quick look at that. You can see with these dashed lines, if I hold my cursor here and look over on the left, you can see how you got V for volume. Those dashed lines mean there's actually no volume trading in that particular market on quite a few days. I'll just take these moving averages off and it probably will make it look a lot clearer. There you go. So that's something that you've got to bear in mind, is that quite often this share is actually not trading every day. If I take a look, so doesn't look like it traded at all last week. We had it trading on the 4th of December last year. It also traded on the 1st of December. Then there was nothing until here, which was the 31st of October. So that's something, in my view, that you do need to keep in mind, because you might be able to get into a share, but the important thing is being able to get out of a share. And that, to me, is why you really do need to make sure that you've got that liquidity. I've certainly been there before where I've invested in a share, it's had a really good run, but there hasn't been the liquidity, and it meant that I haven't been able to get out at a price that I wanted to get out at. So that's something that you do need to consider as well. Overall, summing up for this share, to me, it is in a downtrend. Hey, it could turn around, and that's great. My rule is I want to make sure that if a share is turning around, that it's trading above both of those moving averages, being the 30 and 15-week moving average. I want to see that that 15-week has crossed up through the 30-week. So in those examples where I was using the blue and the red lines, we want to make sure that that blue line is above the red line and the share is trading above both of those. That usually means that a share is in an uptrend. For me, I'm not into the game of trying to pick a bottom of a market. I want to see that the charts are actually showing me that potentially the share has started moving in that direction, and then yes, hey, we would like to get onto the trend of it. Because also remember too that if a share hits new all-time highs, quite often it will mean that there's more follow-through to come. In other words, there will be further all-time highs as well. So just bear that in mind. I really hope that's helped. It was a great share to do some research on, and I really value you sending that through to me. So just remember, if there is anything else you'd like to know, let me know in the comments. Happy to help. And until next week, take care.